currently on Georgetown Road here in Indianapolis, Indiana, and right in front of you is the Speedway here at Indianapolis. This racing venue is the utmost lifeblood of this city. Indianapolis is the Speedway, and the Speedway is Indianapolis. This right here is responsible for tens upon tens of thousands of jobs throughout the entire state of Indiana. And there is often races here at the Speedway. This facility holds about 160 some odd thousand people. But of course, if you're not a racing fan, then you may not know, but the granddaddy of all races in the United States is the Indianapolis 500. And every year, this place sells out. This place is a madhouse. The Indianapolis 500 back in 1930 was won by number 4, Billy Arnold. Now the next year, 1931, the race being held on May 30th, he's here to defend his title. To win this race, you have to drive 500 miles in a circle. That's 200 laps. So on that day, the stands here are full, 165,000 people. I can only imagine what that amount of people looks like in one venue. So on that day, the race starts, and Billy Arnold, he starts out in 18th place. Quickly, by the 7th lap, he's already in the lead. For the next 155 laps, Billy Arnold would not relinquish his lead upon the other racers. By the 162nd lap, Billy now already has a 5-lap lead. As long as nothing bad happens to the car, no breakdowns, no nothing, the race is in the bag. As he's coming right behind me over my shoulder, he's coming across that lap right there, and the rear axle of his car basically snaps in half. He crashes into the side of the wall right over there, and his tire leaves the axle and comes flying over this fence right over here. As Billy's car is crashing, one of the tires coming off of that axle, being thrown almost like a discus, leaps over a fence right over here, comes 200 feet to a house that used to sit right at this very lot right here, which used to be 2316 Georgetown. And this home right here used to live the Brink family. It was Harvey Brink, his wife Alma, and their 6 children. And their second oldest was Wilbur. He was 11. Now, during race days, Harvey had 6 kids, was a machinist. He would set up like a lunch stand right in front of his home. And people that were coming in and out of the Speedway and walking by, they would come and buy sandwiches, drinks, what have you. Probably back in those days, something that you were allowed to do. And if you play your cards right, depending on the amount of race days, hell, you might even be able to pay off your house just by setting up a lunch stand. So Wilbur was sitting at the lunch stand with 2 of his friends, and neither of those kids seen that tire just coming. That tire would have came right at about the middle of the screen. I'm imagining the stands either were not here at the time or it flew over the stands. Not too clear in the story because it just says it flew over a fence. And that tire, you got a car that was doing about 110 miles an hour crashing, and that tire just comes off and is gaining momentum, slams right into the 3 kids. Wilbur, of course, getting the brunt of the impact. He's knocked out unconscious. His father sees what happened, runs to his kid, and all of a sudden he's screaming, and people are screaming to the stands, and everyone is just looking at this kid, his face covered in blood. His father, back in those days, there is no 911, so his father carries him to the speedway, and over here they have what they call a field hospital, and there's a couple doctors that work there and a lot of other medical staff. So they bring Wilbur into the field hospital. The doctor's able to revive him, and they rush him immediately to the closest hospital in the area. But sadly, Wilbur would die within about 1 hour of arriving at that hospital. And this is the final resting place of Wilbur Brink. After his death, his dad had sued the Speedway Corporation for $100,000 in the death of his son. I'm sure they settled with the family. I don't know if they got the whole $100,000 or not, but soon afterwards, they sold their house and moved out to Southern California. And for the rest of his life, Wilbur's dad was haunted by what happened, and he always regretted building that drink stand, because if he didn't build it, then he feels that his kid wouldn't have been hanging out in the back right there. Crown Hill Cemetery is the third largest cemetery in the nation that is not a governmental cemetery. Every time I come out here, because this place is so huge, I don't even know where to begin. Like right now, I would love to do a full-on video about this place. Wilbur's story was only going to be a part of a Faces in Death here. But because every time I come out here, I always seem to come here at the time where the gates are going to close, or it's going to rain like it looks like it might right now. I never seem to come here where I have the entire day to just look up graves. So we're going to just quickly walk over there. There's an old section right there. I just want to kind of check the place out really quickly. As you can see right here, it says Indianapolis Home for Aged Women, and in this section were the former residents of that home. In 1867, a place was built. Originally, it was called the Indianapolis Home for Friendless Women, and primarily their goal was to shelter women and children. And then over the course of several years, it has gone through a couple name changes. And today it is still in use, but now it's called the Indianapolis Retirement Home. And of course, they help aged men and women now find a place to live. And at that location, that is where some of them live. I'm not quite sure if it's a transitional housing place or it's semi-permanent. I don't know. But some of these women lived at that place, and maybe their husbands died and they didn't have a place to go. And I think places like this should be more readily available. And I think a lot of our tax dollars go to stupid things and countries that don't like us. A lot of our tax dollars need to stay in our nation to take care of our aging generation, because we're getting older every day. And one day, if we're blessed enough, we'll reach an age where maybe we don't have somebody around to help us. One hand washes the other. William, his wife Mary, and their daughter Clara are all buried together on the Watkins plot. Clara was 15 years old at the time of her death. She died of typhoid fever. She died the same year as her father, William. I'm not sure if he died of the same, but typhoid fever, very, very deadly disease and very, very contagious at the time. John Lehman, born at Werb, Canterbury, Switzerland, June 27, 1835, immigrated to the United States 1854, died in Indianapolis July 21st, 1894. He served as a soldier in Company G, 29th Regiment, Indiana Volunteers from September 7th, 1861 to February 27th, 1865. He was a loyal and an honest man, faithful to all his trust. We do not know how long this stone has been toppled over and is going to remain so. It would take probably at least a bobcat to at least make an attempt to lift it up, and then they would have to reset the base. This could probably stay here for ever eventually, until somebody in the Indianapolis area contacts the cemetery, and of course the cemetery would have to probably approve them to come out here and fix this. Very slow going at a lot of cemeteries. Very slow going. As you can see behind me, there is some clouds coming my way. It's going to rain in about the next 45 minutes. So I'm going to start making my way out of the cemetery, and I have to go do a quick story. It's about a 5-minute story, but the one that I want to go do, maybe about 4 miles down the road. Live but not live, still alive by the grace of God. Fascinating graveyard. See you on the next video. Peace out.